Welcome to the May of 2024 regular meeting of the Clemson Board of Zoning and Appeals. My name is Karen Ware and I serve as the chairperson of this board. The other members in attendance will now start on this end with Seth, and if you would please introduce yourself.
Hey, Seth Sanders.
Valerie Boatwright.
Adam Jones.
Bob Healy. John Soapworth.
And we also have the Clemson City of Clemson Zoning Administrator, Jacob Peabody, and the Recording Secretary, Rebecca Wilbanks. And if you would like to speak regarding the matters on the agenda, you need to read and sign the speaker's form that's located in the lobby. And for those of you who wish to present factual testimony, you're going to be sworn in by the chair. You'll be asked for the signed form should you want to speak. The meeting's going to be conducted in the following manner. For each item, the BZA will hear testimony from the zoning administrator or recognized city representative. After the testimony, the applicant or their representative will be given an opportunity to provide testimony. Next, the board will hear sworn testimony from any individual who desires to present factual evidence directly related to the items on the agenda. The board will hear unsworn public comment. Questions asked by the board during a presentation will not count towards the time limit. The applicant and zoning administrator will be given 10 minutes for rebuttal. All comments and questions must be directed to the chairperson, who will respond or direct the question to the appropriate party. Any written comments received by the planning office a week ago or longer have been submitted to the BZA. After all comments are offered, the chairperson will close the hearing portion of the meeting, and the BZA will discuss and evaluate the information presented in the context of the requirements of the city code. Please, I ask you to turn off all your cell phones or mute them and place them in a silent mode. And a reminder to the board members, ensure your mics are on and speak into them and also avoid side conversations and crosstalk. Thank you for being here and welcome to the meeting. Do we say the Pledge of Allegiance? We did that the last time, but it's not on this piece of paper.
I believe that may be the chair's discretion, Jacob.
I would really like to say it, please.
Let's do it.
All right, everybody please stand. This is important to me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, I trust that all of you have had the opportunity to look through our minutes from the March 21st meeting. Is there a motion to adopt the City of Clemson's BZA minutes of 3/21?
Motion. I move that they be accepted.
Second.
Second, thank you. All right, the minutes have been adopted. Tonight, we have two items that are on our agenda. And the first one, make sure I have this right. Is 24-V-04. And the applicant is Dante Maganotti. Did I say that right? Maganotti? Thank you. And he is requesting a variance from section 305C8 to construct an accessory structure that is 1,260 square feet, 32 by 40 feet, where 900 feet is currently allowed at his home at 206 Pendleton Road. The variance is VAR-000-246-2024. At this time, I'd like to invite Jacob, our Zoning and Codes Administrator, to share a staff report for the variance for this request?
The subject property is zoned R20, which requires lots to be a minimum of 20,000 square feet. The subject property is 71,000 square feet in area. Also, normally a garage, the setback requirement for a garage is 25 feet from the front property line. This garage is proposed to be 160 feet from the front property line and 230 feet from the actual roadway in Pendleton Road, since the right-of-way is so large on Pendleton Road. The proposed garage will take the place of existing carport. The closest neighbor to the structure is the Montessori School, who's actually submitted a letter in support. And then the other property to the right of it, if you're looking from the street, is 208 Pendleton, which is a single-family house. We have not received any communications from them. The closest neighbors to the rear are over 500 feet away through the woods. They're over on Rock Creek, not Rock Creek. Yeah, it is Rock Creek Road over there in the back. But with that, I will hand it over to the applicant for if they want to give a presentation.
Okay. Thank you. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do, so I can speak about the garage. Is that what you would like to hear about?
The best would be if you take your own application and read your justifications into it,
Please.
just so we can read them into the record.
Absolutely.
Jake, we do have a letter from 208
Oh, we do have one from 208 too? Oh,
in support.
okay, never mind. Apparently we have a letter from 208 as well.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, excellent.
That just needs to just be added, please.
The one from Montessori did not notice the other one.
All right.
That's good.
All right, so we are asking for this variance. We would like a little larger garage. I can just read off the sheet, but I can tell you that my wife filled this out. She's in France. So what I do know is that we would like to park two cars in our garage. I would like to have a little bench in there, put some of my lawn equipment, and put a little home gym or like a workout gym inside the garage. So the little extra space would help me there. We felt like with the front of the garage being the same size as like a regular standard garage and the stretch of the garage being further back, it wasn't going to be much of an eyesore for in the city, so the dimensions were kind of longer or skinnier from the roadway. With the larger property and then our house is a little smaller, we also forgot to mention we'd like to add some storage in there too, some bins and some things of that nature. We'd be storing some lawn equipment, my lawn mower equipment as well, and like Mr. Jacob mentioned, we'd be removing the old structure and adding a new, so there would be actually a new structure in there. Let's see, I don't know if there's anything else to say about it. Do y'all have any questions?
Will there be electric and water or water going out to this facility?
Yeah, it will have electric, but it won't have water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there going to be any landscaping changes around?
There will be, instead of it's a rock driveway right now, it will be a pavement. And then I had to remove a few trees around it because the structure would be, it's wide enough that it needed to be, so a few trees need to be removed.
This, one of the questions that they ask is if there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the piece of property. And what's on here just deals with the landscaping, but I'm sure that the reason you're here is because there are exceptional conditions pertaining to why you should be able to do this. So could you address that?
I'm not sure. What's the question now?
In other words, what would be the extraordinary or exceptional conditions as to why this should be allowed when it normally wouldn't be?
There are standards that must be met for granting any variance, and there's conditions for that. One of those are extraordinary conditions, meaning due to the shape and the size, the topography, setbacks, that kind of thing. The other has to do with other properties that might be in the vicinity. Utilization, you have addressed that.
So it could be the size of
For the
the,
detriment.
Yeah, it could be the size of the lot, the shape of the lot, the size of the home, the building, the shape of the building. You know, what is it that makes this?
Yeah, so the shape of the lot is actually very narrow. I want to say it's 100 maybe feet, and then it's extremely long. So that's why we chose to go with a more narrow but long structure. And I don't know if that answers the question, but that's why the building is built the way it is, yeah.
Okay. So the zoning, Jacob, is that it can only be 900 square feet.
100 square feet.
And he's asking for an additional 300 and
Yep.
some odd square feet.
The house? I'm sorry,
No.
how many square feet is the house itself?
That's a great question. I would have to put it somewhere in that, they're 3-bed, 2-bath, probably somewhere in that 18 to 2,000.
I saw it from the street. It's just a little 1940s, 30s bungalow.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mhm. That's correct.
And you are going to be placing it behind. You're
It will be-
you're gonna drive past the house.
Yes, ma'am.
And from here, I don't see that you're putting any kind of breezeway to get to the house or anything like
No, ma'am,
that.
it would be detached.
And what, go ahead.
Does a breezeway constitute attached?
Yeah.
Yeah, because then
You
it's part of
could-
the house
you could attach
structure.
with a breezeway
Then you can do anything.
downstairs.
Oh, all right,
Yeah, if you attach it with a breezeway, you.
So how far is the garage from the house, roughly?
Roughly 15 feet, approximately.
So if you put a breezeway on it, he wouldn't even need to come in.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
You just don't want to build a breezeway. Unless you have to.
I can,
Well-
I bet your wife will want one eventually when she gets wet the first few times. I'm just saying.
No, I don't know that I would be against it. Actually, my wife is the one that's the project manager of this. She's kind of done the design. But I would guess that it would be very difficult to tie the breezeway in to the back there because there's like a deck built off the back, and the door's like this high off the ground. So you'd have to somehow, I guess, raise that breezeway up. And then the way that house is built, the upstairs attic is kind of like it was an attic space, can kind of convert over to like a second story. So anyhow, the gable ends, I don't think would allow, I'm guessing, a breezeway.
That's your answer to number one.
Oh, okay. I'll take that. I'll take that for number one.
Okay. All right, so let's look at number 2. Because we have these 2 letters from the neighbors, that it's not going to be a problem. Would that indicate that it meets?
Which question are you looking?
What's the stipulation for number 2?
2A, B, C, which one?
Okay, so these are the standards.
Yeah, we're looking at, so that matches these.
Okay, hold on just a minute.
The justification on the back of his application.
Okay.
It matches those, it's just under
Okay.
2A, B, C.
I'm sorry, I studied this instead of that.
You have his application? That's not it, that's the other one, this one.
So when you say several buildings around us are large and not residential in use, are you speaking about neighbors?
If I had to guess, it was probably Columbo's, if I'm guessing what she was talking about, Columbo's is across the street, and then we have the Wallabeer, the gas station, a few other, Montessori School,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. So there's a couple other structures around us that are commercial, and we're kind of like the last residential in the line.
And D has been addressed partially by the letters that we've,
Right.
and the
Exactly.
statement about the neighbors,
That's what I was
the
thinking.
neighboring buildings.
Okay. And, because some of the things that I had written down was, as questions, is it gonna, I did not understand exactly what was around it because in 7 years, I still feel like I'm new in the community. So I don't know where everything's at and what was here 100 years ago. But was the design, because this is pretty basic, was the design going to fit in with your house, and was it going to match, and were you going to put landscaping and stuff around it so that it would be aesthetically pleasing to your home in
Yes,
the
ma'am.
future?
So we're gonna do it in a white vinyl siding, which our house is brick, but it's being, actually, this week is being painted white to match the vinyl. So it's not gonna be brick, but it will match in color. And then as far as landscaping, we wanna do, we had taken out some trees and then some bushes around our house, but those are gonna be replaced with, and I'm gonna go out and say hydrangeas, because my wife likes those, but I think we're gonna do some hydrangeas and things of that nature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have something that they would like to add?
I mean, opinion, I mean, the size of it, the setback, the grade of it, you're dropping, it seems like you're set back far enough, and if all your neighbors are in alliance, I mean, it's not gonna change that, and you're set way back off the road where the garage is, so, I mean, the intent of the code is,
And you said there were woods
Aesthetic.
at the back?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Between the Rock Creek that you mentioned and us, there's probably an acre worth of, I'm guessing, of woods.
You have 5 people in your house.
Yep.
I live in a house the same size as yours with 1. I don't have a garage, I'm envious. You get one.
Jacob, what is the easement for? Is that a sewer easement?
Yeah, there's a sewer easement across the back and overhead power lines. So
Okay.
right across the back is a sewer easement in the back of the property.
Okay, and that has no bearing on this?
No,
Okay.
we require a 10-foot separation between that sewer line and the building, and I think we figured it would be about 50 feet. So we have the city has no concerns physically about the construction of it.
Okay.
What if they did want to add water in the future? Is that something they have to come back to?
They'd have to come back to us, get a plumbing permit, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we see it from time to time, you know.
it's not part of the code, though, it's not
It's not against
it's
it.
not a zoning request, yeah. the
Okay, that's
utilities are
what
not
I
part
didn't
of the
understand,
zoning
if it was,
request.
if it
No,
was part of
only
the
if you
code considerations.
No, only if he was adding living space would it be something that we'd have to take in consideration. But, you know, we have people add hose spigots, and we even, you know, we have some artist studios and stuff in back there.
Sinks and stuff in
Yeah,
the
it's
back, yeah.
not a big deal. If you ever want us to, the only hard thing would be running sewer. If you put in water interior, you have to have connected sewer.
All right.
Okay.
But it seems like the intent of the code is to limit the size of structures on minimum size lots.
Correct.
And we
Again.
have a lot that is grossly larger than the minimum size.
Yeah, if this
This
was
got
in
a
a
huge-
20,000 square foot lot, this structure would look very different than
Yeah.
what it's gonna look like.
This
on
is
lot.
well set back from the road, it's set back from the house.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna.
It's way,
It's
the
in,
house is way.
it's in a neighborhood where it's all commercial buildings around it. I don't see any issue with the proposal. And really, even if we said no, they build a breezeway and it goes up, and it can be bigger. So, I don't.
I don't think I'm doing that, but yeah. I guess I could.
All right, do we have a motion to,
I make a motion that we
This
accept the variance.
Seconded?
second?
We got it.
Jason, I believe
We have to go through each one.
supposed to go through each
You're right.
criteria,
Yeah.
and criteria.
I thought that's
I
what we
thought
just
that's
did.
what
I
we
think that's
just
what they
said.
did. They went through and discussed all of them, but that's up to them.
We just didn't do it at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of putting it on the record if you addressed each one of those criteria. That's up to
Yeah,
you.
so do an up-down vote on everyone.
You don't have to, it's up to you if you want to do an up-down vote on each one, but as long as you feel that you have addressed each
All right,
criteria
so
on the
I'm
record.
gonna ask the question, Does everybody feel on the board that we have addressed each one of the standards or the criteria for granting this variance?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Show by hands. Aye. Are there any opposed? No. All right, so with that being said, and we have had the motion to grant the variance and a second, we voted on that, so is there anything else that we need to be
You
doing?
need to vote on the
We
variance.
haven't voted on that.
Variance.
Vote on the motion.
All right,
Vote on the motion at this point.
okay, we had the motion, now let's vote on the variance. Everybody that approves with granting the variance to Dante Maganotti, please raise your hand. Do you agree? All opposed by like sign? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck.
Now the fun starts.
Yes.
Do I need to stay or?
No, you're welcome to leave.
And you
Do you
sign
want
the
any of
paper.
this, do you want any of this?
I actually have a copy.
Okay.
But I don't know why you need it. You need to take it or?
No, I don't. I just didn't know if you needed it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. One moment.
I think that was appropriate with that law.
Now, this next one, before we approve or deny, I'm gonna ask permission for a tour of the building before they tear it down. Just so I can
So it's gonna be an eight.
relive some memories.
Moving on, we have another one, another request for a variance. This one is 2024-V-03. The applicant is Austin Allen, and he is requesting a variance for 1,112 Tiger Boulevard, sections 19-404, to construct a restaurant 59 feet from the front property line, where a maximum of 35-foot front setback is allowed. This variance is VAR-000-245-2024. All right.
Okay.
With that being
Well,
said, Jacob, would you?
This is kind of an exciting one. I think a lot of people are familiar with this site. It is the site right past the police station, down in the hole.
Yeah.
It's been several different nightclubs over the years, depending on what you call it, depending on what generation you're from. So, Crazy Zach says about a million different things, but as everyone knows, it's been vacant for quite some time now, and it's fairly blighted in the city's opinion. So we're excited to have somebody coming in and proposing to do something with it. The property is zoned CP2. The proposal is for a restaurant. Let's see. I guess probably the best thing to do is just kind of explain. Most of the time you have a minimum setback. So that's what most people most commonly are used to, is saying you need to be at least this amount of distance from the property line, but you can be more. But in our commercial district, we actually have a maximum setback, because in most cases, we want the building up close to the road and the parking down behind it, because in general, buildings are better looking than parking, and modern planning thoughts are, we want to be seeing these businesses. It allows you to have smaller signs, better visibility, it makes for a more vibrant, walkable area. So like if you're gonna be walking up and down the street, you want to have the building up there, you don't want a bunch of parking. Now, this is a unique site, because the actual site is 18 feet below grade of the road. And it's a pretty steep hill going down, so there's really no way to site the building up close to the road because of the grade that we have. And also how the driveway comes in, it is kind of, I guess we'll say, on the top side where the road ends, unless the city was to extend. That is technically a city street going down there on the side, but we have no intentions of extending it anytime soon. So I guess with just kind of those pointing out that this is a unique situation where this is actually a variance from a maximum setback, not a minimum setback. I will turn it over to the applicant to give their proposal.
Good evening. My name is Brad Gallen. I'm not Austin Allen. This is Austin. I am representing and working directly with Cafe Racer, the company. So I thought it would be wise just to give you a little bit of history of who we are, what we're planning on doing, and Mr. Allen can discuss the nuances of the application. Cafe Racer is a company you've probably likely never heard of because we have exactly one location currently. The company was founded by a husband and a wife in their late 20s, early 30s, about 6 years ago in Athens, that literally just wanted to start selling coffee, donuts, biscuits, and sell good food and good coffee. The original location was built about 25, 30 miles to the east of Athens in literally a trailer in a dirt parking lot. That location has since closed. We opened our first freestanding location just west of downtown Athens last August. It's doing quite well, so we're excited to continue growing. Clemson was on a very short list of areas where they really wanted to focus growth. That's why they brought me on board to say, hey, could you help us with the growth aspects of things? So again, a little bit about the company and what the offering is. Cafe Racer is, quite frankly, very good food. It's biscuits, donuts, coffee in the morning. It's burgers, fries, chicken sandwiches, things of that nature in the afternoons and evenings. Really, the whole culture behind the company, as you can see with the site plan, is really trying to be very green friendly, get people to come, use the drive-through. Absolutely want to get people in and out. If they want to get in and out in a hurry, then we're going to cater to that. But with the large green space that we have, the covered seating that will, I'm sure I could think of an example, but has some of that indoor-outdoor feel to it. That's really the overall environment that the company's trying to go for. So really trying to be very walk-up friendly, very drive-up friendly, have people come stay, come sit, enjoy time together, and quite frankly, eat very good food. So this property, as for the reasons Mr. Peabody outlined, was very appealing to us because it's close to campus, it's close to the university, it's along Tiger Boulevard, which is well-traveled. It's not without its challenges. It's not without its development challenges. So when I brought this to the owners, they looked at me like I was a little bit cross-eyed and said, it's how far below the road, and you want to do what? You know, I've got a little bit of an imagination. Fortunately, Austin has a little bit of an imagination with me, so you know, our intent is to build this up, not necessarily even with the road, but much closer than it is right now, make it a little more visible to the street, and again, quite frankly, just build a great establishment. Hopefully it's going to be in Clemson for a long, long time. So again, I'm happy to talk a little more about the company. I guess I should be would be remiss not to mention this. We generally hire 30 to 40 employees per location. We are, again, in active growth mode. We've got a location in Auburn, Alabama that is probably 2 to 3 months away from turning over to construction. We've got a second location in Athens that will be under construction probably in the next month. Again, 30 to 40 employees. We are a little more high paying than most traditional fast food types of locations. We generally pay $18 to $20 an hour for hourly employees, which is obviously above minimum wage. And with regards to the drive-through, this has come up a number of times in the past. The traditional McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Zaxby's is historically doing 85 to 90% of their sales out the drive-through window. That is 100% not our intent. The drive-through is there because we want to make sure that it gives customers the opportunity to get in and out in a hurry. Our expectation is, you know, our split of sales is generally a little more closely to 60-40 out the window versus dine-in, walk-up. So again, the drive-through is an important aspect of the development, but I just want to outline, don't expect to see Chick-fil-A type of traffic pulling on this lot, so. Turn it over to Austin.
Good evening. My name's Austin Allen. I'm a planner with Arbor Land Design out of Greenville. Fortunately, I was able to work on this site the last time we brought it through, at least, back when it was being proposed at a different use. So had a pretty good familiarity with the site running into it. So this site, as Jacob has mentioned, has sat vacant for some time, and for good reason. It's quite honestly a tough site. The access is difficult. The finished floor as it sits now probably sits 20 feet below the road. And quite honestly, it's pretty small, and it's a very tight lot to really try to do a lot of different things. In terms of extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property, as I mentioned, we've got some topo issues. More importantly, if you can see, you'll not be able to read any of the writing probably, but we've got several storm drain pipes coming under 123 coming onto the site. We've got to provide some room there to be able to collect that water because it's a lot of DOT water. So what we've looked at options where we've flipped the parking in the rear and the drive-through up front, but what we found is that really kind of hurts the traffic flow. The way we have it now, somebody pulls in, they go down and around, and they pull out in the right lane. If you kind of did it the opposite way, you'd have, vehicles crossing paths, and that doesn't work. The other kind of, really the big reason why we've landed on the site plan is, it is a tight spot. Trying to get in what you want from a use standpoint, building standpoint is always important. Getting all your parking in there is important as well, but in terms of the functionality of parking being adjacent to the drive-through, it just doesn't work. If you've got a stack in there, you're stuck, you've got your food, you can't back out because you're 6 cars deep waiting back out. That's just, it doesn't really work that way. So that's really kind of based off the site, ultimately what we're trying to do, how we've landed on the site plan that we have now. In a lot of situations, and I do these a lot, I go to a lot of Board of Zoning Appeals, and this would typically be a difficult ask, this variance, in my opinion. However, in this case, looking at everything that's done on 123, there's really not, although there's intention by, the maximum setbacks, there's really not a consistent streetscape. Tiger, sorry, it's been a few years since I've graduated, Tiger Sports Shop, that's set pretty far back. So I guess what I'm getting at is, we're not really asking for something that's going to put us in an inconsistent situation compared to what's around us. So in that sense, I felt it was a reasonable ask, which is why we're making the application today. Strict application of the ordinance would ultimately lead to parking being adjacent to drive-through, and would lead to a more complicated internal traffic situation, which on a tight site like this, it's going to happen and issues are going to arise. The authorization of this variance, I do not believe will be of substantial detriment to the adjacent properties or public good. One, because like I've stated before, we're not creating an inconsistent situation. Two, as Mr. Peabody mentioned, I think there's a lot of people in Clemson who would love to see this whole site, or this site that is a whole, is what I was trying to say, become something, because, Clemson's went crazy from the time I got here in 2014 to the time I left. The place just exploded. So I think a lot of people would want to see this particular piece of property get caught up with everything else that's going around. Like to see something really nice, and I would even say we made submittal. We've got to go through the BAR as well. Wish hindsight could have provided you some building elevations for tonight. We have provided those for the BAR submittal.
Yeah, I do.
Jacob, if you can send those out, y'all will come by, take a look. It's a very cool building. I love what the architect's done. I think this is going to be a real cool project. And just to echo what Brad stated, the green environment, the play, not the drive-through, they've got a pretty big lawn area out there that they're really sacrificing some pretty valuable, probably 4 or 5 parking spaces there. But instead they're choosing, to leave that area as lawn. So I do think this will be a really good project. We appreciate your consideration, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Yes, sir.
I believe I heard correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, will the level for the building remain where it is now, or will it be raised up? And how many feet if it's going to be raised?
So the plan is to pick finished floor up to about the 717 mark, which, if I remember right, the curb elevation is around 725, 724. So it's still going to be dropped a good bit below the site, but picking up that site is really going to help with being able to actually see it.
We're doing our best to split the difference and being as mindful of cost as we possibly can be,
Right.
because it's obviously a lot of dirt and a lot of wall.
So you're talking about 5 feet or so below grade?
7 to 8.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just had a question. These are the discharge points for those large water lines, right? The stormwater from the DOT road just discharges directly onto the site. So as you can see, it would be kind of difficult to stick a building right here with those,
Those daylight at grade?
Yeah, and then,
Well, they kind of daylight a little bit up the slope. Not far up, but a little bit. That one on the top, playing northwest corner right there,
Yeah.
that whole structure, you'd look like you stood on it or looked at it the wrong way and fall down. But that one, they daylight about halfway up the slope. But you've got to capture it because it's so much water that if we had to treat it in our pond, our whole site would be a pond. So we've got to capture that, bypass it around our system because it's not required from a state or federal standpoint for us to treat that water. So they're kind of I guess what I'm saying is where I've kind of stopped that back of curb line on the front side of the property is kind of the tolerance we held on the last project when we engineered it and handled all that stormwater.
So now, it doesn't matter, but just out of curiosity, so what are you gonna do? You're gonna divert it some out of the creek behind you, or you're gonna culvert it onto the site, or what do you do with it?
Just pipe it and daylight it back into the creek.
the creek run.
Because that's what it's ultimately doing anyway.
Right.
We'll have to do some additional things at outfall because you're creating a point discharge rather than 2 point discharges that are slowly dissipating across the site. So we'll have to do a little bit of stuff there, but yeah, you pipe it around.
but you're gonna bring it to the creek, you're not just gonna dump it on Village Green, right?
No, we would get sued.
Yeah, well,
And they've got,
I got a history of working all through this neighborhood. I've worked on Julie's property, I've worked on Village Green, I've worked for the HOA down there. If you're gonna do new stormwater on your site, right? Well, that's gonna solve a lot of Village Green's problems right out the gate.
it will. And
This is not the worst side. Julie's side's worse, because Julie has one pickup, and if it gets covered in leaves, it floods every unit on that side.
That's correct.
This one's got some issues, but if you're capturing what's coming off of you guys, there's not a whole lot of space there. They'll have a lot less issues down there.
So I'm sorry, I can't see all this little writing, and I can't see that either. So I have some questions. First, regarding what they're saying. Where is the creek back here, and how far down is it from the back of
It's
this?
actually under the parking lot of Village Green. They just had to replace the culvert over by the dumpsters, but there's a creek just
So the
behind there.
whole creek is in a culvert?
A part of it, yeah.
Not too long ago, you could do that legally.
And
Yeah.
is there,
Their garbage disposal is right in front of it, and it destroyed the culvert. They had to replace it.
Yeah.
and, there's no possibility of flooding the back of this if there was a really bad?
Right, the hopes are this will actually help the flooding issue. So right now, we do have an issue with, so this is the site right here.
Right.
The water comes directly onto this, and some of it comes over this, it's all a parking lot currently. And then we have had some issues with flooding here. The creek is right here, actually. So we're gonna have them pipe it in and bring it here. And the creek actually stays daylight here, it goes around the back side of Village Green. So if we can capture this before it comes over to Village Green and bring it all the way to this back corner, it then goes underground underneath the
where the dumpsters are.
Well, over here, well, yeah, I'm not exactly sure it goes underground, quite, somewhere back here it goes underground. And then there's one of the biggest culverts I've ever seen going underneath, you know where Osaka Express is? The river is underneath there, and it's
You can see
deep.
the opening
It
on the
is
other side.
huge.
Humming.
And when I went down this manhole one time, I was blown away.
So-
'Cause we had a collapse.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if, so, and,
Never mind. It
so
goes underneath that
also,
building right here. Right underneath that building.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this should actually help the flooding issue.
so
of
it
the
still
drain.
keeps, so the topography of the land, is it still slopes down?
Yeah,
from the
it
back
gen-
of-
yeah, it's a gentle slope, but it does go down
Okay,
away from
all
the.
right, that's
yeah.
the first thing. The other thing that I'm not sure about is that there's only one entrance and one exit, correct? If you'll go back to
Yes.
this one,
Right
okay,
here.
so up there, you're coming in. If you're going towards Greenville, you're gonna be,
You're gonna take a right out of here, so this,
yeah,
the business owner, DOT is requiring this to be a right turn in and right turn out only. You are not going to be allowed to take a left out of here.
Okay.
thank you.
Which will be smarter.
Yes, that's wonderful, that was one of my
That's a
things.
good, yeah.
And is this a road, okay, see where there's the opening?
Right here, this is the entrance to the police station.
Okay, all right, I got that. And then the other one behind it, that's going back behind
Oh,
it?
this way, it's what we call a paper street. It doesn't really exist.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
show you here. It just, the pavement just ends. It's just dirt. And
Right,
there.
because I didn't know how all that,
Yeah, technically, it's a right of way, but it's not improved.
okay.
We're also showing, so just below our dumpster pad location, at those first two parking spaces, yep, right there.
Yes.
So there's two lines that come off from the back of the curb to the right of way,
Uh-huh.
to the entrance to Village Green. That's something that we discussed with city staff at our initial meeting. Although we don't necessarily believe that somebody will actually do it, we're gonna go ahead and provide an easement and access to where when Village Green does get redeveloped, that they could legally tie into us if they needed emergency access or for whatever connectivity issue they may have.
Okay, so it would be right there where your dumpsters are and move those someplace else, or is that what you're saying, or
Yeah.
tentatively? And the other thing is how does the garbage people get in without obstructing people parking on the front?
They'd have to do timing wise of
Okay.
when, yeah. but
7 o'clock in the morning.
And there is,
There's going to be some degree of conflict that we're gonna have to work our way through.
Okay.
and we've recognized that, so there's places where we're showing, you know, a good bit wider than kind of the minimum drive, or not, I wouldn't say a good bit, that's an opinion, but, you know, like adjacent to the 8 spaces at the dumpster, we're showing a 26-foot drive aisle rather than the 22, just where we can to try to give some more folks room to, you know, back out or whatever.
And also, and I'm sorry, I can't see the little stuff.
understand.
So, geez, my arms are not long enough.
Usually in those situations,
The
the ones
right
that,
hand, so the right hand of the building is inside?
yes, this is inside, this is outdoor covered patio area, and this is lawn.
Okay, all right.
The inside is completely kitchen.
Correct, yeah.
So
if I could,
people are either sitting in, so there's no like enclosed area, it's just underneath the
I was
patio.
gonna say, we,
How do you handle that in the wintertime?
it's
See, loose change. You know how they do downtown? They've got that window.
Oh,
that
yeah,
they'll
it's like a
open up
garage
and-
door, uh-huh.
Exactly. Much bigger than loose change, but similar idea of loose change.
Okay, yeah, because I was thinking if people are eating, I'm just trying to think through it, I'm sorry.
Yep, yep.
Okay, so if y'all are raising it up 8-9 feet, is there a retaining wall on the south side?
That's correct.
How, is that like is it gonna be an 8-foot retaining wall up against the property line, or how offset is that off?
So, we don't have a laser pointer, do we?
No, we should get one. Whereabouts? You can come around here if you wanna use this.
You can drive Jacobs.
So there, and Jacob's showing it, there's a dash line that comes right there. What that is, that's the sewer easement from that existing line, just plain south of the property. We will probably push that wall up close to that, probably as close as we can to that sewer right of way.
Okay.
And however much we pick that site up, we'll directly reflect the wall. So if it comes to be 6, it may be a 6-foot wall.
And just for my education, all of the engineering drawings for a retaining wall and all of that is going through architectural, somebody else's review, right?
Correct.
All of
Yeah,
ours
their
is-
next is in front of the architectural review board as far as appearances, but they need, for a retaining wall that size requires engineer's stamp plans.
Past 4
Anything over 4 feet tall.
Okay, and based on what you've said, you really won't see much of the building from the road, correct?
You mean where it is now or where it would be if it was?
Where it will be when it's constructed.
So where it will be, I think provides a better vantage point to see it from the road. Push it a little further back, pick it up, you see everything.
Parking won't be so visible though.
Parking, because, 7, 8 feet, I mean, you should see barely the tops of trucks, I would guess,
Okay,
high trucks.
and all of these dash lines right here, which,
They're 2-foot contours.
That's topography lines.
oh, okay, so is that going to be, because that goes down, is that gonna have landscaping and stuff?
So we're showing some landscape material between the back of the curb and the right-of-way line. Dimensionally, I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. I believe it's 5 or 6 feet in between the back of the curb and the right-of-way. That's where we would put everything. SCDOT's already stated that they don't want anything on that slope because it's in the right-of-way.
And on the backside, I think the one comment we got was from the complex, Village Green or whatever, of what is it, is there anything gonna be on the backside as far as screening? There's existing trees there already. Are they on y'all's lot or the?
So the trees would necessarily have to go. We're kind of showing a similar scenario, on the backside of what would be on the top of that wall. So you figure you plant, I know we're proposing shrubs, don't remember the exact species, but, if maturity, you're talking something, 4 to 6 feet tall, depending on how they prune it, so.
And is all that part of the architectural review?
Yeah, it is, and there is a required buffer.
Yeah.
So they're either gonna have to do a thick line of shrubs or a fence, or both really.
But
So there is a requirement.
you're gonna end up, there's sliding glass doors across the back of those units
Existing conditions.
that are 6'8"
That's
tall.
existing.
Didn't realize it's-
And you're gonna have a retaining wall and then bushes on top of the retaining wall. You're not gonna see anything.
No, you're
Coming I've walked the back of those units. You're from the unit, you're gonna look out and you're gonna see retaining wall and bushes. Because you're gonna have to look, you're gonna have to come out the back door to look up to see
Torn down
anything.
building right now, so.
Yeah.
It'll be cleaner, much
Now,
cleaner and drier.
what are the hours of operation?
Sure, yes, sir. Generally speaking, we're, in the Athens location, we're still working things out, but we're open 6 a.m.-ish for breakfast, for biscuits, donuts, coffee, and we have not really been open later than about 10 o'clock on most evenings.
Okay, now as far as, I know as far as the people in the house, in the apartments behind, 10 o'clock or so, there's gonna be a lot of noise. Is there gonna be any noise abatement? Will that be covered by what plantings are done to help that out?
That's probably why BR will probably kind of tackle that, whether or not a wall is necessary or not. But, yeah, I'm not sure if you guys are proposing anything at this point, but again, this will be above grade, they'll be down below, so noise tends not to go down.
And I'll chime in with maybe a less technical answer on the landscaping. We've got, I don't know the square feet footage, but 1,600 square feet of green space immediately adjacent to the building. The green space, the plantings, the shrubs, that's important. It's important to the ownership, and that will obviously cut down on some of the echoing, any sort of noise that may be translating over from the building to the village green.
And there's not gonna be any big trees to cut down in the front and stuff like that to clean up, or all that's gonna be raised and then put new stuff?
the landscaping, the trees that are in the existing right of way, per DOT, they're gonna point those out.
It's probably mostly junk landscape, like sweet gums and just stuff you don't want anyway, too.
Okay. All right,
Most of it, too.
does anybody have, before we go through and make sure that we have addressed all of the justifications, does anybody have any more questions? All right,
Sorry, Jacob, can you go back to the over the Google Maps and just show where Tiger Shop and the police station are currently?
Okay, so this is where Tiger Sports Shop is. This area here is the site we're talking about.
right.
That you can kind of see down into there where this is the pavement down there in the back. And then this will be the entrance coming in, right here. That's the police station, this will be that shared entrance, and then the building will be back.
Okay.
Can you flip to aerial view, please?
Yes.
Because I've seen people try to take a left-hand turn out of that entrance from the police station before.
I've never seen anybody down there.
You hadn't seen anybody do that? I think you're being facetious.
Well, wait, who would come out? Oh,
Just
you come out of the
saying.
backside of the police station? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, in front.
It's risky. I think I got tired of waiting from somebody on the other side, but that might have been me. Nothing more with the median there.
They play cricket down there.
Yeah, they're pretty
That's about the
median,
only
so-
activity I've seen in a lot of years.
I don't have anything else. Oh, you wanted to look at the aerial?
Well, I mean, my point, when I was looking at it, I mean, the police station is already set back past the 35 when I was measuring it, and so is the Tiger Shop. So
Oh, yeah.
when you're talking about,
So
I mean,
you're
this is
pretty
already
much
a
in
lower
line
side.
with-
You're pretty
yes.
much in line with where you're, so.
And honestly, we're talking about changing that requirement because we actually when they get redeveloped here on Tiger Boulevard on the water, we want them to start addressing the water instead of, how it's set up right now, you'd have to put the buildings all the way up by the street, but it might make more sense to try to bring them over by the park.
Yeah.
So, we've talked about actually changing that ordinance. It hasn't yet, though.
Okay. That makes sense. All right.
Well, the
Anything else?
construction might be hard for them for a little bit at Village Green. The way it is overgrown right now holds a lot of moisture against the back of those buildings, and they're looking at a full reside on those buildings. And the HOA can't afford it. Cleaning that lot up will actually help that row of buildings. It'll dry that out. It'll help them out.
Yeah, we do anticipate, we've thought anytime this site gets developed, it's gonna be a big benefit to Village Green for drainage and water issues.
Yeah.
So that's what, Village Green's issue is our water issues.
Yeah.
We've had some pretty bad floods back there, and we think that this is an opportunity for us to actually help them.
The only recommendation is put a staircase going down to Village Green so they can just walk up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I really think
Kinda
they
like
should.
do
Connected on down
Well,
the backside.
Look, when I was in college, that's what I was telling them, when I was in college, we didn't want to walk around to the drive, so we would scoot down the hill, and then when we were done at the bar, we would climb back up again. So a stairway there.
I think we probably will,
Be
like,
great.
if they're willing to do it, I think it would be a good idea, because there's actually, if you go through Village Green, there's a little path that comes here, and actually it's labeled, the Village Green Bridge. There's a bridge that brings you over to here, so people already do transverse from College Ave right over to here anyways. So I think, we'd
That would
like
be nice to keep them off of
to
123.
keep them off 123, so we actually do want to encourage that, because I think you'll be pulling people, we have some big developments going in right here, and it's actually not too far of a walk to cut right over to your spot, so.
And even football game days, you see a lot of people walking through there.
Oh, yeah.
There's development going on
I heard something about it.
Really? I wonder what the name of it is. Let's see. How long is it gonna take?
So I can probably speak to you.
What's your ETA? Just for,
So I'm going to think out loud here, so just bear with me. So BAR hearing is second week of June, roughly. The permitting process usually takes about 6 months from the time we start engineering to the time we get permit. You know, you're gonna discuss with them, you know, depending on how tonight goes, and, you know, maybe the next week or so, we may go ahead and start engineering, just fine tune everything, gain a couple weeks. So, I mean, you're probably talking seeing site work first of next year, and then maybe start to go vertical in the spring. Is that fair?
I think so.
Sounds good.
Our goal as a very young company is we don't want to go buy this property and invest money into it and sit on it. So we have obviously a vested interest in making something happen here. You know, we'd be standing here if we didn't believe in the site and believe in
And
our
the-
opportunity in Clemson.
Can we make a requirement that the owners have to come in tiger paws on t-shirts when they come to open it, if they're UGB?
I was gonna say, Austin's already heard this, so I'm gonna.
Red shirts with a tiger paw?
If you'll indulge me for a second, I live in Cartersville, Georgia, if that means anything to you guys. So Cartersville, we had the benefit of watching Trevor Lawrence throw the football for 4 years in high school, and it was the best $8 a game that I spent. So I've got an 11-year-old son that is mighty high on Clemson these days. So there's a very good chance that in 6 or 7 years he may be a Tiger. So I don't have any problem with Tiger Paw.
How many people, this is just because I'm interested, how many are you going to be able to accommodate, you know, serving that don't go through the line and sitting and?
That's a great question. So, do you recall how many parking
Capacity,
spots
yeah.
we have? It's 32, 3, yeah.
34, I believe.
So, you know, obviously the appeal of this site is it's drivable, but as discussed, it's walkable. So the intention is, that's a really good question.
You'll be serving alcohol too?
That is the intent, yes. The Athens location where that is a long skinny building and very, very small. We have green space, we have some lawn chairs, people do play cornhole, play horseshoes, do that kind of thing, and that's really the atmosphere that the ownership's going for, and that's hence the rationale for the green space. So, I mean, I would envision, I would be spitballing if I even threw a number out. Two to three people per car times 30 parking spots. We would be thrilled if every one of those parking spots was full.
Okay, sounds good. All right, well, let's, if anybody doesn't have anything else they'd like to add to this or questions they want to ask, let's go through and make sure that all of the justifications have been met and make a decision to, first let's have a motion. And make a motion that we accept the request for a variance to 59 feet from 35 from the property line. So if someone would make a motion, please.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second it. Everyone who is in favor, please raise their right hand. All opposed, like sign. All right. And do you feel like that Alan has made all of the justifications for having extraordinary or exceptional conditions? Everybody that says we have, please raise your hand.
I think they have.
Yes. Yeah, that's an exceptional lot.
Yes, it is an exceptional lot. All right. The conditions do not generally apply to the other properties. However, we have recognized that the nearby properties are already seem to be set back that far. If you are in agreement with this, please raise your right hand. Because of the conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit, unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. And I think that by what they said, as far as the DOT is concerned and going back and forth with the engineers This is pretty much the only way that they can use this property, entrance, exit, and otherwise. Do you agree with that? Yes. Please raise your right hand. Did you have something you'd like to add, Valerie? Okay. All right. The authorization of the variance will not be a substantial detriment to adjacent properties. I think that what they have shared with us indicates that it's not going to be a detriment, and what Jacob said, it's actually going to help the properties that are behind it. If we are all in agree, please raise your right hand. All right, are there any disagreements? All right, if someone would please make a motion that we accept this variance as it has been presented to us tonight.
So,
So moved. Is there a second? Thank you. Everyone in favor, please raise their right hand. Any disagreements? All right. It looks like it's a go.
now you get the BAR.
Thank y'all.
Now, one of the stipulations is those of us who have a history in Clemson of watching that building change get to stick our heads in before you tear it down.
I was gonna say, I would, there's probably a long-winded answer, but I would love to know the history of that.
Has it caved in yet? Is the roof in?
You might need a hard
No, but I
boots.
can,
Good gust of wind.
I was gonna say, I can tell you that some of the consultants that stuck their head in there to do some of the survey work were not real thrilled about walking in there.
Okay, well then never mind. I'll just leave it to my memory.
I was actually shocked with how strong that building was built.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually, I mean, I don't go in it, but
It has stood for a while.
It was 6 or 7 years ago I was in there, because that was when it got busted open, and they were complaining about needing to lock it back up. I got involved at some point with that stuff.
Do we have to adjourn for it?
It's rough in there, but I like, it still looks like when two Skinny Jays played in there. I like,
All right, Jacob, are there any other staff reports?
I think I was there.
no.
That would have been in 2000.
Any other business?